we need to talk. I'm betting on Portland. What do I mean by that? If you've been pondering about making a move to Portland because you're wondering, is Portland through the worst of it? Are people thriving here? Is this a place to bet on, meaning you're putting down roots? Well, in today's video, I'm going to be candid, and I'm going to talk to you about real life examples of what I'm seeing, what I'm experiencing as a lifer here in the Portland metro area, and I'm getting after it right now. If you're new to our channel, hit the subscribe button, tap that notification bell so you can get our content that we put out every single week on Portland life. We absolutely love getting the reach out, so if you are contemplating making a move to Portland, then all of our contact information is listed below. Feel free to reach out. We love getting the texts, the emails, and we will hop on a call with you. So I thought I would do a video on I am betting on Portland, Oregon. And what do I mean by that? It's no surprise that Portland, Oregon went through maybe rock bottom during COVID. We were on the front page news, it seemed like, every week for all kinds of crazy chaos. And people kind of looked at us as the worst of the worst when we were going through the COVID years. Now, I lived here through it, and I can tell you that, yeah, it got really crazy. And most of us stayed far, far away from downtown Portland during all the riots and such. We saw homelessness explode and get out of control. And to be honest with you, as a real estate broker, I helped a lot of people leave Portland in those years. I mean, a lot. The number one call I would get is, I'm out of here. They would leave for all kinds of reasons. Number one, cost of living. They were seeking to get somewhere cheaper and more affordable. A lot of times job statuses changed during those times and they were able to work from home. So they sought places in the country, either closer to family and friends, areas that were much cheaper, or quite frankly, areas they just always wanted to live in, or for political reasons. So that big push really made a exodus of Portland. It was kind of like every time the phone rang, it was like, hey, I'm leaving Portland. Okay, so we had all these people leave Portland, and there's been some very interesting things that have happened since that time, you guys. And I predicted some of this could happen. I predicted maybe some of these people are going to move back. And sure enough, I'm here to tell you in this video what I am seeing on the front lines right here in Portland, Oregon, helping people buy and sell. What is actually happening here? Now, it's no surprise also that some of our leadership has made some interesting choices. We are, as you're aware, a very Democratic state. Some would say far, far left. Liberals, I've done videos talking about there's all different kinds of Democrats, but we are a very blue state. We are one of the areas on the West Coast that is looked at as the most liberal, if not, neck and neck with California. So we get a lot of people relocating here and trying to figure out, is Portland, did it crumble to the ground? Is it going to crumble to the ground? What's going to happen with the real estate market and the economy? And I'm not here to sugarcoat anything. We have absolutely had our challenges. And I think I want to go through what I'm seeing, because I think we're through a transitionary phase here in Portland where we're not at rock bottom. And we're kind of seeing some turnaround in some different ways, but we're also seeing some existing challenges that are going to be pretty tough for Portland to pull through on. Primarily what's happening in the downtown area. It's going to take probably years before the downtown area makes a true comeback, because what happened during COVID, if you didn't already know, is that we had a lot of craziness downtown. We had riots, we had explosive homelessness and crime, and a lot of businesses got broken into, had to constantly, deal with that. And a lot of them chose to leave or go out of business or not renew their leases. Well, what ends up happening when a lot of those companies in downtown Portland choose to not also do that is that those businesses that support the companies that people go and order coffee or services from no longer exist. They get less and less business. So what has happened over the last several years since COVID is a lot of businesses did not renew in downtown Portland. They have left for good. They've gone to other parts of Portland to take on new office leases. And a lot of healthy businesses left Portland. And then a lot of, service business that serviced a lot of people downtown Portland have left. And what's happened is we have one of the largest commercial vacancies in the country right now, meaning in downtown Portland specifically, we have the highest rate of vacancies in the country. It's kind of become a vacuum in that area. And also what's happened is tax dollars have left that area. Now, is downtown Portland all of Portland? No. And that's something I really want to bring up, is that While downtown Portland is still going through a painful situation, and tax dollars are now in question, and they're really trying to incentivize businesses to get back to downtown Portland through tax incentives, the rest of Portland is not what Portland is experiencing. In fact, quite the contrary. We're seeing a lot of those businesses that would have otherwise set up shop in the downtown area go out to the suburbs, go out to the neighborhoods and surrounding areas. And that has been an interesting turn. And another reason I'm betting on Portland is because we've seen a lot of new restaurants and service businesses pushing outwards to the masses. So what happened during COVID was a lot of the downtown region got hammered, and even people who live in downtown Portland have since gone, but people are still moving here. People are still buying homes here. People are still wanting to live in and around Portland. So they're kind of pushing out to areas that were once upon a time not necessarily quite as popular as the downtown region. So it's not like everyone left, but they kind of changed locations. So has businesses. So in my opinion, downtown Portland is going to have a long ways to go before we ever see it really, really come back. But a few things that I've noticed as I've been going down there and talking to friends and colleagues, they've cleaned up a lot. You go downtown Portland, especially in parts of Northwest and Southwest Portland, a lot of the graffiti or homeless camps have been cleaned up or maybe shifted around. They didn't bring in a tax, a homeless service tax that a lot of people pay if you're making over $120,000 a year. And those funds are going towards creating more management, as you will, of the homeless population. So they have created designated areas throughout the Portland Metro for those people to live and be in housing or shelter, and just having more services as far as, instead of a police coming on scene for mental health, now they have to have a designated person who, specializes in mental health. There's been a lot of changes. I think that those have been helpful. I feel like they have been. Again, I am not on the front lines of that. It's just what I see and what I hear. But it does seem like there has been a difference being made. It is by no means solved. I will not claim that. We have a long ways to go in that department. That is not an easy thing to solve. But we do have a new mayor, and he has made some pretty big promises in getting the homelessness off the street in 1 year since he got elected. So we'll see how far he gets. But I love the positivity. But downtown is going to have its struggles. Now, some people have said downtown is starting to kind of make a comeback. That's yet to be seen. But what we are seeing is a lot of thriving suburbs now, a lot of thriving neighborhoods that otherwise didn't get quite the attention, because quite honestly, people were, pre-COVID wanting to live in the urban settings a lot, that both on the, west side and east side of town. And since then, a lot of people have pushed out to the suburbs, to the other areas that once upon a time were not as cool as some of the inner city areas. So I am seeing a lot of people move out from those areas of Portland where they feel like there's still some disturbances, whether it's crime or homelessness or, it's going to take a lot longer for those areas to come back. And they're pushing out towards areas of the suburbs that are, quite frankly, very, very popular. Now, the other reason why I'm banking on Portland is because I believe in our community. There are a lot of people that have been here for maybe even as long as I have, although we're very much a transient city. You can go down the street and talk to 10 people, and probably 8 of those people are not originally from Portland. So I am maybe one of the last or the few. But that being said, people who've been here for the better part of 20 years, we have seen and known Portland in all its vibrancy and beauty. And there was a time, you guys, I know it seems far-fetched, but there was a time when people were moving here in the droves. We were like the West Coast best kept secret. And U-Haul does a study every year where they track where people are moving to. And for the better part of 4 or 5 years, we were on the top 3 list of that U-Haul, meaning people are moving here all the time. Now, we're starting to see, now this is my experience, I am getting lots and lots of phone calls from people all over the country about moving to the Portland metro area for many, many reasons, which I'll try to dive into topic by topic here. But I am starting to see the people that moved out of Portland during COVID, for whatever reason they had, moving back here. Now, the problem is they usually move to a cheaper state. We have not gotten cheaper since COVID. We've gotten way more expensive. Whereas the places, hear me out, the places that people have moved to be cheaper have gotten more expensive. So this is huge, in my opinion. I am starting to see a mixture of what I call climate refugees, and we've done a couple of other videos on this, and people who are realizing that the cost of living in some of these other places around the country that once were cheaper during the COVID times are no longer cheaper. In fact, they're becoming way more difficult to own these homes. Let me walk you through it. So a very common call that I got over the last, I would say, 4 months is people living in states where a climate disaster happened, meaning hurricanes. Let's start with Florida. It's no surprise that they had back-to-back hurricanes. They had a pretty awful hurricane season this last year. And we got so many reach outs from people moving here or considering moving here from Florida because, number one, their house could have been a part of the disaster. Luckily, it wasn't in most cases when we talked to people, but they were like, you know what? That was too close of a call. That was too uncomfortable. I had to evacuate. I had to batten down the hatches. I didn't know if my house was still going to be standing when I pulled back into the driveway. One person said a tornado ripped right through their neighborhood and their house was not damaged, but other people's were. That was a little too uncomfortable. The second one, and probably the biggest one, that if you're kind of paying attention to what's happening around the country, is the cost of homeowners insurance is getting out of control in these areas. And not to mention, a lot of insurance providers have pulled out of those areas. So not only do you have fewer options, or maybe you even got dropped by your insurance company, but now the insurance companies that are in those areas have gotten wildly expensive. We've told this story many times, how we had a client of ours who literally just got into escrow on a house up here in Portland, got a bill for their insurance company for $14,000 a year on a little ranch. Well, she did get it negotiated down with a different company to almost half of that, but still, that's wild. And she was concerned she wouldn't be able to get it the next year. So a lot of people are concerned about, can I afford all of that insurance push up? And it's not going to get cheaper. Now, one thing I have heard is that Florida has provided a insurance policy that a lot of people are moving to because they have restrictions on how far up it can go. This is interesting as well. So we are selling a family member's house in Florida as we speak. In talking to the real estate agent we hired down there, they are having a crisis of sorts in terms of all these people moved to Florida in droves. We're talking, easily hundreds of thousands of people moving over the last 3 years. And now, because people are getting hit with insurance and the cost of living there has gone up and climate and all that stuff, it has become where people are now getting out. Shocking, isn't it? Well, you can't push into one area with that many people and not see that, after they lived there for a little bit, they realize, there's some problems here too. And problems you cannot control, like the weather. But in talking to this agent, it was fascinating because she sells a lot of property in the Southwest Florida central area. And she's got 20 listings on the market that are just sitting and not even selling. And she said it is brutal that in some cases they're finding 3 to 6 months on the market is what it's taking to get these houses sold, and many, many price reductions. She's feeling like, not that the market's crashing, but that it's softening so much that it's now starting to really work against a lot of people who bought and eating up their equity positions. So I think if we face another big hurricane season, you're going to see a big push and another exodus out of that area. Now, it's going to be interesting because we have seen climate change affect people all over the country. Now, I'm not here to argue whether you believe in climate change or not. Something's changing, okay? It doesn't take a rocket scientist to realize that whether you're living, even here in Oregon, we've gotten hotter summers, okay? But in other parts of the country, it has gotten wild with the weather patterns. And then you look at California, what happened to them this season, and it's like, holy smokes. I have people that are absolutely trying to run away from all of the climate shifting that is going on. And I have to say that I think I talked about this in another video. I've talked with my dad about this for years, where he said people are going to eventually move more north because it's just going to get hotter and hotter in these other areas. The storm systems are going to get worse, and it's going to be kind of unbearable in many cases to live in certain parts of the year in these other areas. And I have to say, I feel like I'm seeing that being a northerner. We're up in the Pacific Northwest. Portland is just a temperate climate. Yes, we talk about our weather and our rain, but when you compare that to what other people are going through, people are like, give me rain, give me rain and get me out of here. So, we're seeing a lot of that. And I think we're going to continue to see more of it because, quite frankly, it's just the weather patterns shifting all around the South and, people that are, experiencing some pretty big lifestyle changes and quality of life. I mean, I can't imagine going through hurricane season and wondering if my house is going to even be around after what happened. That just personally wouldn't work for me. I tolerate the rain. I'm a lifer here. Does it get bad sometimes? Absolutely. I get sick and tired of the rain. Absolutely. But I know I can hop on a plane or I can drive 3.5 hours south to Bend, Oregon, where it's beautiful, and get out of this for a moment to give myself some relief. But I will tell you, when you get to like late spring, summer, Portland is where it's at. And a lot of people come when it's really beautiful out. And it's just so funny because we tell them, just so you know, 6 to 7 months out of the year, it's dark, rainy and cold. So you just have to have hobbies. You have to have hobbies inside out. At least we can still go outside when it's raining. At least we can go for walks or, do things. It's just, put on a few extra layers like what I have on here. So the climate change and the climate refugees are really coming on strong to Portland now. And the statistics recently came out that while we were losing population here in Portland over the last few years since COVID, totally understandable, we are now starting. I would be curious to see what the statistics are this year because we were last year, like between how many people left and how many people came into the state, it was like barely break even. And so my prediction is that we will see people coming to Portland more this year than we ever have in the last 5 years. And we will see now it going the other way, where we're now starting to see the population going over who we're losing. So that is my prediction. I'm also betting on Portland because we have a lot of industry. We don't just bank on one industry. Everybody knows that Portland is very, very saturated in the tech sector. However, tech is going through a lot of transition right now. And one of our biggest employers, Intel, is facing its biggest challenge yet, which is it's been a thriving company for decades here in the Portland metro area, employing over 20,000 people. But if you've read the news over the last year, you've noticed they've gone through a lot of shifts. They've let go of a lot of people. They are trying to rediscover how they're going to stay competitive in the market. And I don't think Intel's going away. That's the good news. But are they going to redesign themselves in the way they do it? Probably. It's yet to be seen. But there's a lot of other tech companies in the area. So it's not just one, but also we have healthcare, we have manufacturing, and we've got, believe it or not, we've got tourism. Yes, people come to Portland to vacation. You're like, what do they see in Portland? Well, actually, we have quite a bit. There's a lot of people who love food. And so some people just strictly come here for the food scene to go experiment and try all the, locally owned restaurants that get all the hype. They go out to wine country. We have world-class wines, literally 30 minutes outside of Portland. You have Pinot Noir coming out of your ears. It's some of the most beautiful, rich wine country. You can literally just go out to wine country and spend a few days. It's that good. There's great restaurants out there. It's absolutely beautiful. So I have family that come in from out of town. All they want to do is go out to wine country. We have the Gorge just outside of Portland. You can drive down. You can visit Multnomah Falls. We have tons of hiking that is absolutely sensational. We have a thriving beverage scene. So if you love coffee, we have some of the best coffee in the world right now. I'm drinking Stumptown, which just literally got in the top 10 of the best coffee in the world. So you have coffee here, roasters. You've got a beverage scene where we have some of the best breweries. We've got, booze here. There's just a lot of variation in the beverage scene. So if you like food or beverages, we got you covered here. And we've got beauty and nature, right outside Portland. I mean, we're literally an hour and a half from Mount Hood. So you can come here and spend a day trip up at Mount Hood, skiing, sledding, snowboarding, whatever you want, or just go visit. Some people love to go to Timberline Lodge for the day, have lunch, look out, just enjoy the beauty, and then take the back scene from Hood River back to Portland because it's called the Fruit Loop, and some of the most beautiful country you'll see in the United States, I guarantee it. We've just got all kinds of things to kind of enjoy here locally that a lot of people, they always say, gosh, it's one of the most beautiful places I've ever visited. So if you come here probably late spring through fall, it's going to be mesmerizing how pretty it is here. Very green. Portland also has a pretty thriving education and university scene. As many know, we are home to OHSU, Oregon Health and Science University. They are always having some of the cutting edge research going on in the country in healthcare. It's pretty impressive when you read up on it. Sometimes I check in on the studies and I'm pretty blown away. That's one of the, hearts of Portland is the education system. We do have good schools. Obviously, you have to do your homework. I can't tell you too much about education because I can't be biased, but we do overall have a pretty strong education system here throughout the Portland metro area, depending on what you're looking for. We've got really good private schools as well if you're looking for private school. But overall, there's just a lot of different variations in the education system that keep that part of things really thriving and moving. We have a quality of life here in Portland that is really hard to beat. And it's really hard to find in the United States. You can go to other parts of the country and maybe they have one industry in their area or they have something they're known for. But here in Portland, people come here for the quality of life. We are at a pretty good, I'll start with one, which is, we're not like Denver or Colorado where, we're higher up. So you don't have to worry about being at high elevations, which I know for a lot of people, they don't feel so good at high elevations. We have hills and valleys. We're beautiful. We've got the scenery. We've got a pretty environmentally friendly city. So a lot of times when we're building or we're developing or providing services for people that live here, environmental is at front and center. People want to know that the products or the services they're getting are designed around thinking about the environment and thinking about the people and the safety and the protection of the people around. And that really is kind of something unique because I've gone to other parts of the country where they don't even recycle. They don't even think about, the throwing away of things or how to reuse things and how to repurpose things. Whereas Portland, it's like we really cherish that. If you can build a service or have a company that, puts, reusability and, the environment at the forefront, you can really do well here. People really value that. You go to the grocery store here and people are always bringing their reusable bags. I always forget mine. I try to remember, I put them in my car and then I walk in the grocery store and next thing you know, I'm like, oh crap, I gotta go back to my car and get that. Or I leave them at home. But you go to the grocery store here a lot and people are reusing their bags. They're, it's just all these little things that, are nuances when you live in a certain area, but they kind of add up to being able to kind of overall realize that there's a culture here of being really kind of mindful. And I always appreciate that because I don't think inherently I am that way. I've, kind of adopted being a part of that culture, just living and growing up here in Portland. And it's funny because we'll have family come from out of town and they're like, you guys have recycling? You're doing what? And they see it. They see it everywhere they go around here. Whereas I don't think we actually appreciate it as much because we've been, if you lived here or you're from here, it's just kind of the norm. But I think that puts us in a very progressive state of mind here in Portland because we're trying to think, about the environment we're participating in. So I think that's a really big reason why I'm betting on Portland is because overall we really do care. We care about our environment. We care about, people and the things going on here, maybe to a fault if I'm being honest. But I think quality of life is a really big deal here in Portland. And so I think that is a really good reason that I'm banking on Portland because I see people fighting for that all the time. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video I did. I really had a lot of mindfulness about putting this video together in the sense that I kind of wanted to shoot from the hip and talk about what I'm seeing out here in the field, everyday life. And I think there always is that question about where is Portland at in the process of coming back, or is it coming back? There's always this question of, is Portland a good place to invest in, to live in, to look ahead with? And I would say it absolutely is. And I'm not being biased in that. I really have seen, because there was a time when I honestly felt like, gosh, should I get out of here just like everybody else? But I always felt like Portland had too much good over the bad. And over the last couple of years, especially, I've seen so much improvement. And, quite frankly, if you're living in certain parts of Portland, you don't see it or see it as much as you do if you're living in other parts of Portland. And so I think one thing to be aware of is that you have to look at Portland holistically. Is it one area or is it all of Portland? And I can tell you that living in Portland, it's very much centered around certain topics where we're probably going to have to work on it for many, many years. But I do believe in Portland. I think there's enough people that have stayed here that really love and appreciate it. And there's tons of people moving here that want to see Portland do well and are banking on it as well, betting on it and putting down roots. And I have people all the time that move here and go, gosh, it is so great. It was nothing like what people said it was going to be. Or they read all these articles and such and realized that everything they read about Portland was overly exaggerated. Now, not to say that you can't find areas that people may have a very different opinion on it. But for the most part, I think people are coming here with eyes wide open and realizing that we have gone through a lot, but we're also kind of shifting an improvement. And maybe, just maybe, we have more to offer than a lot of these other places that are starting to feel like people are now packing up and moving back or moving away so they can avoid other things. So if you guys have comments, drop them below. If you guys want to talk about making a move to the Portland metro area, reach out to us. We always love getting on a call or a Zoom. We do a lot of buyer consultations for people that are planning on making the move, and we would love to help you make that transition. All right, see you on the next video.